Hey, everybody, welcome to the Age of Reason podcast, where we're not for the faint of thought. This is episode 68 with Mike, Alex, and Nick. What's going on, guys? Nick, how you doing? You're in a new spot right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm in a house watching it from my dad. My dad decided to go to Germany for a month, so so I'm here watching his place for him, making sure all the banditos stay out.
That echoes. You sound very godly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I was going for.
What's up, Alex?
Not much, man. Excited to get back into Sunday school over here.
Yeah, all right, let's do it. So you got a good one for us today. So ladies and gentlemen, bow your heads. Let us think. Reverend Gutierrez over there, what do you got?
Yeah, so today we're going to discuss the book of Job, which actually it's pretty fucked up, man. To be honest, there's no way to really make it a good story. I don't know why they should have left this one out, to be honest. But so Job Job was a guy who he had a good life. He was wealthy, and he had a nice, large family, and he was devoted to God. So one day, God was up there in heaven, and looking down and thinking, like, man, that guy Job, he's a man, you know. And Satan came up to him, you know, they're bullshitting, I guess, at the water cooler, and Satan said, you know, to be fair, he's got a good life. You know, it's easy for him to love you, because he's got everything going for him. How about you let me have a go with him and, you know, play some tricks and you know, see what happens. And God agrees to the bet, basically, and says, go for it, as long as you don't kill him or injure him.
Whoa, wait. God was okay with everything except killing or injuring him?
Hey, there's some rules here.
like rape was cool though, or is that an injury?
Rape was always cool as far as God was concerned.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah,
well,
that's okay. So all in one day, in the span of 24 hours, marauders killed Job's oxen. A fire killed all of his sheep. He had his camels stolen. And his son's house was knocked over by a strong wind, killing all of his children. So, I mean, the devil had, I mean, he went all in right there, you know, had a crazy day, right? So, but Job still believed in God, and he basically said, you know, these are things that happen, you know, it's not God's fault. So Satan he doubled down and said, you know, he's still healthy, so let me play with his health and see if he still feels the same way. So he gave him hideous boils and made him sick. Job's wife, it's in the Bible, it's always the wife that's the voice of reason, but she told him, you know, renounce God. He's screwed you, basically, you know. And he's like, no, I gotta believe. So he had 3 friends come visit him and look at him and tell him, man, you must have done something wrong, because God just he wouldn't just fuck with you, you know. You must have done something wicked. Just tell us, renounce your sins, whatever, everything will be okay. And Job's like, hey, I didn't do nothing. I'm nothing to renounce. So they basically left him like laughing, like, man, this wicked piece of shit over here is not gonna, you know, fess up. So after some time passes, God actually appears to Job, and Job questions him, like, hey, what happened? What did I do? And instead of answering, God asks him a series of questions. So I was looking it up. I guess he asked him 66 questions like this. And I only wrote down 2, but so questions like, have you entered into the springs of the sea or walked into the recesses of the deep? And then the next question is, has the rain a father?
Has the rain what?
So, has the rain a father? Like,
So
who's
he
the
was
range
just
daddy?
he was just testing if Job was high.
So listen. So then when Job said, like, basically, like, I don't know, how the hell do I know that? And God's like, ha, exactly. You don't know what it's like to be God, so deal with it.
What?
Like, your mind is not complex enough to work on to know the range daddy. So
the Rain's daddy.
and I mean, that's
I think I
basically
met him in San Francisco once.
and that's basically, I mean, how the story ends. I guess that makes Job believe again, or confirms his faith. Like, I knew all along, God was righteous to me. And
Wait, that's how the story ends?
yeah, the story is, I think, he gets better, and gets a little bit of his wealth back or whatever. But I mean, that's it. Isn't that fucked up?
Where's the moral?
Trusting God?
Yeah, God. Sometimes bad things will happen. This is, I guess, how you get people to say, like, it's God's will.
Also, my interpretation of that would be, whoever's in power, listen to them because it's good for you, no matter what happens, and good things should happen for you. Maybe not, but maybe not.
Or maybe they'll have a bet and you'll be the subject.
Well, yeah.
But powerful people are very stressed, so we got to give them a pass, I guess. I mean, we're not fathers of the rain.
No, but you can't possibly understand the complexities of the things that go on in the mind of the rich people that run the show. So it's best that we leave those things up to them.
That's right.
So it's wrong that we say fuck them?
Well, definitely, you're not supposed to go up against authority.
I guess not.
No. No, don't work. Nope.
God, that was a terrible, terrible story. Let's move on to the news. Alex, what do you got? Speaking of rich bastards, I'm sure we got some of those in here.
Yeah, so actually this one's a little bit going bucking authority a little bit. So obviously Donald Trump and his brilliance has the United States has exited the Paris Agreement. Luckily, we have local entities that are going to do something about it. So far there's been 10 states, California, New York, Washington, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, Virginia, Oregon, and Hawaii.
I didn't hear my state in there.
So Colorado's done. So these ones signed the basically Paris Agreement. So Colorado's agreed to it. They just haven't signed.
Oh, okay, good.
So they're kind of there's 10. Yeah, there's 10 other states that are on that status. So that's good, and 275 individual cities as well. So I mean, people are stepping up and doing that. Just a quick note, I guess, of those 10 states, 8 of them have Democratic governors. The 2 that don't are Vermont and Massachusetts. So that's a Republican that signed that over there. So
yeah, it's good news.
Way to go. Yep. Next thing I got here is on the emoluments lawsuit on Donald Trump. So attorneys in Washington, D.C. and Maryland filed suit under the emoluments clause. That clause is in the anti-corruption part of the Constitution. It states no title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person in office holding any office of profit or trust under them shall without the consent of Congress accept any present emolument, office, or title from any prince, king, or foreign state. So basically, the issue is Donald Trump on several occasions has bragged about having governments that stay in the Trump towers. So basically, they're paying him rent, and how much rent is not necessarily, coming out in public. So at one of the goals or what people are looking for in this is that it may his tax returns may come out in this.
Yeah.
So that's one hope.
But let's mention that court cases like this tend to drag. I mean, if Trump doesn't get reelected in 2020, which we all hope for, we could still not have seen the end of this court case.
Potentially, but I have a little update on it in a second. And I just wanted to point out that if he would have put his money or his businesses into a blind trust, which all the legal experts suggested, this would not be an issue.
Nope.
But when I woke up today, I was reading it to see if there was any updates, and actually 196 Democratic House members just today filed a similar lawsuit based on the same grounds.
Nice.
And this is, I guess, the largest legal action taken against a president, having the 196 people. So
there's a lot of firsts for this presidency.
Can I ask you guys a question? What do you think it's going to be like? Let's just assume that Trump never gets dethroned, that he serves his full 2 terms.
Only 2?
What do you think the history books are going to say when it comes out 15, 20 years from now that Trump directly colluded with the Russians, that Trump was in debt to them for millions or billions of dollars? Every negative thing that we've suspected is proved true.
Well, I don't think anything will come of it because Trump will be dead, given your hypothetical timeline. Trump will be dead. Maybe you might have Mitch McConnell will be dead as well. But people like Paul Ryan, Marco Rubio, Lindsey Graham's in his early 60s, I think. He may still be around. So we may, John McCain won't be there. So I mean, you may have a few people that are in the office that are holding office still, given that timeline. But I think what'll happen is they will point the finger and admit some fault, but mainly point the finger and say it was 15 years ago, move on. And that's how I think they'll spin it.
But what do you think the United States will be like? Do you think that we'll have recovered? Do you think that we'll just be worse?
I don't want to give my answer right now because I'm going to bring this up in a later topic.
Oh, okay. Fine.
No, but I mean, like, we're on kind of the same wavelength. I guess will we recover? I have said it before. This country will always get whatever it deserves. Whatever the people choose to do. If they choose to act violently, it's not going to help anything. If they choose to stay politically active and informed, then we have a better shot. But I think it'll get swept under the rug. I think my overall answer to that would be swept under the rug because everybody's going to want to move on, Republicans included, from a Donald Trump presidency.
And I guess to me that the hypothetical, I don't think it's going to ring true. I think honestly, and again we'll talk about Comey's hearing as well later, but I think it's not. There's no way he's going to serve 8 terms. I think. It's not going to happen. It's going to come out before 8 years. I'm pretty confident of that.
Yeah, the weird world that we're in though is you say you're pretty confident he's not going to win. How confident were we he wasn't going to win for the longest time on the first round?
That's fair. But
I'm not even trying to poke at you. I'm just saying look like our confidence and shit like this doesn't mean as much as it used to, I guess.
Well, yeah, and that's my confidence in everything, especially after watching the Sessions hearing.
Jesus.
like him sitting there with that smirk on his face the whole fucking time. Like it was infuriating.
Let's get these news topics out of the way so we can get to the good shit.
No, talk about Sessions.
We'll get to Sessions, goddammit.
Yeah, so just one more side note. I guess this is obviously it's separate from the emoluments because it's not a foreign government, but this is just the kind of bullshit that our president is doing. And honestly, to me, it's just like I could see. It's like he's trying to be a hustler over here. He's trying to hustle the presidency. So at one of his golf courses, I think it's in New Jersey, they newly updated the brochure, and it says, "Oh, if the president is on location, he might just happen to stop by your wedding." Well, sure enough, he did it, and there's pictures, I think last weekend, of the president crashing, people's weddings, and they, So
he kissed the bride, didn't he?
I didn't see that.
I'm positive he kissed the bride and grabbed her right by the pussy. I am positive that happened.
Oh, I want to hear of a wedding going down where the groom walks over and says, "Mr. President, with all due respect, get the fuck out of my wedding."
Well, honestly, if you're a big enough douchebag at this point to go get married in the Trump hotel. What was it? Braveheart. Who was the goddamn king at that time?
Edward the Longshanks. Edward the First.
Yeah, Longshanks, where he gets to have his way first. Honestly,
prima nocta.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna get married at a Trump hotel at this point, obviously I'm lying about the grabbing by the pussy part, but I am positive that he actually did. He couldn't stop. He popped a fucking Tic Tac and just started kissing her. In his own words, he moved on her like a bitch. All right, so moving on. Let's get these news stories out of the way. One more thing about Trump until we get to our discussions. CNBC posted an article that Trump wants to start charging stores to accept food stamps. So Donald Trump wants to charge retailers a fee for accepting food stamps or payments from the poor. The food stamp fee will be reassessed every 5 years, but the budget office predicts that $2.4 billion will come about in new revenue for this fee, and it is likely, definitely, going to impact smaller business grocery stores as opposed to the bigger chains. Aside from this, the Trump administration has also announced and is proposing $191 billion in cuts over the next decade for the food stamp program. This is now be honest, Nick. Did you know about this? Have you seen?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay, you did see, because I felt like this is one of these really important things, and I went over this with Alex last night. Alex, you hadn't heard about it yet, and I just happened to find it, and I feel like this is one of those.
Everything I feel like.
Yeah, right. But I feel like this is one of those things that's going on behind the fucking scenes, and we're caught up with Trump's side hustle. He said there's videotape. I mean, he's the only one that will run for president, win, and make money off it. That's out of his own mouth. And, I mean, I feel like we're being distracted with that type of shit. Obviously, it's important, but this is really fucking important. But speaking of the conservative way of economics here, so in 2012, Kansas lawmakers voted to shrink their tax brackets, awarding economic tax breaks to the wealthiest in their state. Now, this bill was forced through by newly elected governor at the time. He was a congressman, but newly elected governor at the time, Sam Brownback. This is known as a Brownback.
That's racist. You can't say that.
He's white. He should be named.
Well, see,
white
now I'm just confused.
I think with him being a Republican senator, it's probably not unlikely that he does not, or it's not unlikely that he has people from South America shit all over his back in an airport restroom. All right.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense now?
Yeah.
All right, now it makes sense.
I'm just sticking up for Alex, my wife, the people, La Raza,
All right, so Governor Sam Shitback was newly elected, and he promised with his new economic plan for the state of Kansas that he was going to bring thousands of jobs by eliminating income tax on profits from LLC companies, sub-S corporations, and sole proprietorships. Eliminate income tax on profits, among other cuts. But since the bill passed, they have crumbled their roads, their infrastructure is failing, they have no money to put into it, and they slashed their education budget more and more every year since 2012. So,
But then all the money trickled down, and now they're the most powerful state in the union, right?
how'd you get a hold of my notes?
I was just guessing.
Well, these motherfuckers aren't in Kansas anymore, most likely because the roads won't lead them there because the shit is broke, and they can't point out fucking Kansas on a map because their education sucks. So since Kansas, since then, Kansas, their performance has lacked severely in areas including job creation, education, unemployment, gross domestic product, and taxes overall collected. So, good news is the Kansas voters have voted to roll back this ultra-conservative economic experiment. And the way I picture this, remember when after World War II, we split Germany and we split Berlin with Russia, and Stalin came out and said East Germany and East Berlin is going to be like a showcase to display the greatness of communism. Remember that? This is how I feel Republicans were viewing Kansas. They had no opposition whatsoever. They've had a majority in that state to get whatever bills passed that they wanted. They basically have had their way for the last 5 years, and this whole showcase of conservative fiscal policy has completely blown up in their face. So, to end the story here, the vote came through legislators after they saw a $900 million gap in their public schools, K through 12, over the next 2 years. Now, Shitback, who's still in office, is working with moderate conservatives and Democrats to solve their economic problems.
You know, the worst part of it is I'm predicting there's going to be like 4 or 5 more conservative states that do this. And
why can't this be it?
Oh no, that was Kansas did it wrong.
Yeah.
No, but I mean,
we need to apply it to the whole country, then it'll work. Right?
The only way to stop the shit is to throw more shit. I mean, but seriously, why couldn't this be? Why aren't Democrats? I mean, I would love to see this in the next election, in the 2018 election. When you have somebody coming out, I mean, obviously we need to help small businesses. We need to help businesses grow and all that other stuff. There's ways to do that without giving them all the fucking money. But I mean, I'm curious to see if this argument, or if Kansas and their failure is used as an argument when it comes to the elections in 2018 for Congress. So, I don't know. Any further thoughts on that before we get to the other stuff?
Well, I'm gonna use it in my arguments for sure.
Well, Kansas, they also just they were under audit, the police departments and the highway patrol there, because they're using those forfeiture laws when they bust people for like violating medical marijuana statutes. They take their house and their cars and everything in it that could be related to their criminal drug enterprise.
Trying to make up for that money.
Well, yeah, and then people have to spend like 1.5 years in court to get it back, and by the time they've spent that long in court, they've spent more on a lawyer than they did that their stuff was worth. Yeah. So, they end up just leaving it.
Yeah, so. and honestly, we don't have time to get into it, but I believe last year when John Oliver on Last Week Tonight went over, he did a story on how much money is spent on court cases and how people are forced into basically pleading guilty because they can't afford the charges. I believe one of the people on that bit is from Kansas, so that's that's sad. But hey, that's a red state for you. But speaking of Republicans, we have to. For me, I have to yell at both sides of the aisle over this. So earlier this morning, 65-year-old man by the name of James Hodgkinson. Opened fire early this morning at a GOP baseball practice that was for a charity game. I believe that's happening tomorrow night. So Congress has a yearly charity baseball game. They were doing a practice. It was the GOP side, and Republican Representative Steve Scalise and 6 others, including a lobbyist and a few aides, and 2 D.C. Police officers were shot and hospitalized. Scalise right now is in critical condition. He came out of surgery. He got shot in the hip, and the gunman was shot and killed by law enforcement at the scene. What I was able to find out about Hodgkinson is that he was known in his hometown of Belleville, Illinois, as a highly engaged activist who was a supporter of Bernie Sanders in the last election, and kind of had a pretty high temper. He had there was one court case in 2012 involving physical altercation between him and his wife with their neighbor, and I don't know, but what I'll say about this is you cannot blame anybody for this guy's actions but himself. However, I believe the arena that was built in order for this excuse to take place is coming from both sides of the aisle. We have seen 8 years of obstruction with Obama and polarizing politics, where if you disagree with me, you're an American, and I'm patriotic and you're not, and you're trying to be the downfall of this country. And now and I'm not saying that our views are incorrect, obviously, but we're doing the same thing to Trump for better reason, obviously. But I seriously think that this arena was set through the polarizing politics that we have seen since Obama's inauguration, and it's starting to blow up.
I guess first off, Bernie Sanders immediately, upon knowledge of the situation, issued a statement, and you don't hear something like that, obviously, from Donald Trump when the attack in Portland that we didn't cover, that happened while we were off, where the white supremacist stabbed 2 people, 3 people actually, killed 2 people. For defending Muslim women, against his own.
There was also in San Francisco last year during the campaign that truckload of white guys jumped a Muslim male at a stoplight. Mm-hmm. There was no apology for that. Nick, you remember that? I think you were on that episode.
I remember that. There's not going to be any apology from their side. As far as I'm concerned, the Democrats might be a little bit responsible. In my mind, they're responsible for having bad campaign strategies and not being able to take control like they need to. That's the only fault I'm going to find. The other side of the aisle, this is what happens when you take away things from poor people. When you make people feel like they don't have any other options, and you keep pushing them and scaring them, because, and I hate to segue into a different story, but in San Francisco today, 6 people were shot at the UPS facility there, 4 of them dead, including the gunman. And again, we have a gun problem in this country, and we've taught people that we solve things with confrontation and ultimately violence by the history of our culture. We won the West with the gun. We didn't win the West with, good times and, pie.
Which was bullshit, because the West was run by prostitution. But what I'll say about this is, when it comes to Bernie Sanders, I mean, obviously, this guy couldn't have been doing it, I don't think, having to do anything with Bernie. And I'm not just saying that as a Bernie supporter, but if he did this in any way because of Bernie, he really didn't understand his message to begin with. But I feel like what he did accomplish is he just gave the right wing population that believes that we need to loosen gun laws and everybody needs to be strapped at all times. He just gave them a voice, because they're already coming out and saying it was a radio host from New York, a right-wing conservative radio host, basically said if this happened in Georgia, this guy wouldn't have, gotten more than a few shots off because they're at baseball practice and they're gonna wear their fucking guns underneath those tight ass baseball pants. What the fuck ever?
You gotta be strapped at softball practice. But
yeah, exactly. But he gave them a voice. They are now coming out and talking about liberal terrorism, and
I think that's the bigger problem. I think more than saying everybody should have had a gun, because I don't know how the hell they make that argument, but that's the problem that I've heard Newt Gingrich try to make too, is the hate is so high on the left that this is what it comes to. And I mean, it's really, I guess, since they're getting beat down and in the war of ideas, they might as well just try to fabricate something like this, because yeah, I mean, this is obviously against everything.
But the people that listen to only conservative, Fox News and Rush and all them, this is all the validation for this view that they're going to need. Is you have the liberal people, you have somebody that represents all liberals, obviously, because he was for Bernie, so obviously he represents all of us, and we're always saying that we need to tighten our gun laws. And now he's going out and committing a mass shooting. So I don't think it's gonna blow over immediately. But I seriously, they have a spotlight on them now that they're gonna soak up as much as they can. So good job, douchebag.
Of course they're going to politicize it. That happened from the minute that the other congressman got on there and said, oh, yeah, he walked up to me and he said, are these Democrats or Republicans playing? And I said, oh, they're Republicans. And he said, oh, good. And then he walked over and started shooting them. Right then I knew that this was going to blow up into a big political thing. What I don't understand is why this is the big political thing and not, the UPS shooting or the Pulse nightclub shooting or Sandy Hook, which some conservatives believe was a Obama conspiracy.
Yeah.
So the key component to all of this is gun control.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you want gun control now that liberals are shooting back?
Well, good point.
Yeah. Well, and my other question about this too: what do the Republicans really have to lose by going for gun control?
Money.
What do they really have to lose? They're gonna lose. No, they're going to lose money from the NRA. Okay, they're gonna have candidates run against them, but the NRA doesn't have enough money to run a candidate against every single Republican.
The diehard people.
What?
Well, that's votes.
So the conservatives in Kansas and bumblefuck Missouri are going to vote for a Democrat instead of the Republican because they went back on the NRA?
You never know what bumblefuck Missouri is going to do.
I know. I've talked to two people in my career that have said I vote with the NRA. That's the bottom line.
Right, but what I'm saying is that the NRA cannot possibly swing every single district in this country. And all it would take is for the Republicans to stand up to them and say, look, we're doing 2 pieces of gun control legislation. We're not banning them. We're not getting rid of them, but we are going to do this. And the NRA would back down. They would have to. They would be politically irrelevant if they abandoned the Republican Party.
That's just to reassess the priorities, right? They are trying to ban to get silencers back into the market.
Right.
So I mean,
then we can kill Republicans quietly.
Hey, don't say we.
Right. Oh, yeah, well, I got to group us in, right? I mean, Bernie's obviously at fault for this shooting, and liberals.
Like I said, that guy represented all of us.
This is. I heard leftist terrorism on the radio.
Yeah, I heard liberal terrorism.
Huh. Yeah, the communists are trying to take over again. I heard that.
Yeah, and this isn't the left's first round with this. In the 1970s, the counterculture movement, as it broke off and became violent around the same time that Charlie Manson was making his name famous, they were blowing up buildings and setting fires all over New York City. So, I mean, it's not left terrorism isn't something we haven't seen before, but I would say this
compared to the Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I would say this. Let's count how many leftists or liberals agree with death in general. Let's see how many of them actually vote for the death penalty. Let's see how many of them want tighter gun laws in order to shrink that 33 to 35,000 deaths a year that happen due to gun violence.
Yeah, look at
our voting record is what I'm saying.
Growing up, every terrorist, every domestic terrorist that I knew of was a conservative, with the exception of the Unabomber.
Timothy McVeigh.
Who, no, not Timothy McVeigh. What was his name? Kaczynski?
Yeah, Ted Kaczynski.
Yeah.
No, I'm bringing up Timothy McVeigh as well.
Yeah, Timothy McVeigh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm even going to say that the 9/11 terrorists were conservatives. Just think about what party that they would belong to if they lived in America, being as religious as they were.
Oh, yeah. Christians don't like hearing that they're trying to put on their own Sharia law.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, man, you're going for the fucking jugular there.
Hey, what?
9/11 hijackers would be fucking conservative. Woo.
Well, you don't think they would?
Yeah,
No, I
there's
think
no
I
question.
no, I
there's
think
no
you have a
question.
point.
Yeah.
I never thought of that, but goddamn, that's a
Well, right.
That's
Think
a
about
knockout
it.
punch.
If ISIS were here in America right now, what party would they vote for?
either way. Donald Trump would be helping them out, even if it was Muslim Donald Trump or Donald Trump as we have him right now. He's definitely helping their cause.
No, I don't even mean that for their cause. I'm just talking about for their own religious standpoint.
Well, seeing as how they take tariffs from all their people in order to fund their regime, and then obviously the Sharia law side of it, I would say economically and morally, yeah, you are correct.
And based on what I've seen lately, they have no problem controlling women. The way that John McCain treated Kamala Harris in the last two intel questionings there, and it's obvious they still don't get that there's certain ways you can't talk about the ladies or to the ladies. They're not getting it.
Yeah, and that sucks for John McCain. I had higher hopes for him over those two briefings and his interviews.
I think that cheese slipped off his cracker. I think he's
I can't understand a fucking word he's saying over the
It's
Comey
time to go
interview
to the
or
farm.
Jeff Sessions.
Yeah,
So
even when he was like Comey is like, I don't understand your question. Like what the fuck are you saying? Over
Sessions
there?
had one of those points too. I'm sorry, I don't quite understand. And is if all right, let's just break into this since we're talking about fucking Sessions. So if the names were withheld from each speaker as they started asking questions, you would be able to tell immediately whether they were Republican or Democrat. All the Republicans began with, "Nice to see you again. How's your wife doing? How are you? How's this, that, and the other thing?" Something personal about Jeff Sessions. And then
Were you properly fluffed in the back room?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you need another tongue in your asshole? I'm perfectly willing to provide, Mr. Sessions.
So they would start with something like that. And then, Tom Cotton was the worst. But it's like, so General Sessions, in your memo regarding the firing of James Comey, you said A, B, and C, and I'm going to assume what you meant by that was D, E, and F. Is that correct? They led him to everything. And then at the very end, Tom Cotton was, and I'm going to assume you meant this when I'm going to assume that the reason why you basically recused yourself is because of the law that you stated. And then that was the end of his questioning. I mean, these aren't even softballs. These are fucking tennis balls.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Every single Republican that said anything to Jeff Sessions, it began with a nice ass kissing, stroke job, whatever you want to call it, and then they asked questions like, "Do you believe that we should punish the leakers, the people who have betrayed the trust in this United States government?"
Yep.
Or it was something like, "Are you aware of the recent reports of the suspicious brown people driving around in cars out in the desert?"
Yeah.
Yes, I am, and I would like to say that this is a very serious threat to the United States.
And Mr. Sessions, do you watch James Bond movies?
I do not. I find them vulgar, and they make me nervous. Actually, all the action in them makes me nervous.
But you do enjoy spy novels,
Oh yes, spy novels are fantastic.
like James Bond. You like James Bond?
No, no, not James Bond. I prefer Percy Merriweather, the Spy of the South, and his sidekick, Dewdrop and Tulip. Yes.
What the? The reason I said that twice is because at first he said no to James Bond, then he said yes. But yeah, I mean, they're talking about fucking spy novels, and Tom Cotton's sitting up there, and he opens up his portion, 5 minutes with, all these. We've heard from 6 Democrats. None of us asked the key question: do you believe Russia interfered? No. Do you believe that Trump or anybody in his campaign colluded with Russia? I mean, he's knocking the Democrats for saying they're not doing their job, but all they were trying to do was get to that point. And when you watch the interview with Kamala Harris, yes or no, is this rule that you're referring to, where if the president doesn't take executive privilege, you get to take it for him, is that written down anywhere? Yes or no? And he's going,
Mr.
on
Speaker,
and on.
that woman is not respecting Mr. Sessions.
Said John McCain, right? I mean, it sounded like McCain, but the camera didn't pan to him, but that was John McCain, right?
It was.
Yeah.
That's the second time he's interrupted Kamala Harris while she's questioning someone.
Jesus.
But let's take a second real quick just to give some props to Kamala Harris, because she's a beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. Oh, she's my pick. She's my pick. If we're going into 2020 with anybody right now, gotta go with her.
And
I mean, she will bring the house down. Not only is she a minority, but she's a woman. And not only is she a minority woman, but she is so damn intelligent. And you saw her line of questioning. She is not afraid to get up in someone's face. Oh, it'd be beautiful.
I want to give props to Senator Hyden as well from Oregon. He went before Kamala Harris, and he did a very decent job and pretty much grilled him on not releasing any of that information either. And every time they ask him, "Are you willing to give us evidence?" I'll give you what's appropriate. Are you willing to take part in the special prosecutor committee as well when they're doing their investigation? I will attend what's appropriate. We got absolutely nothing out of this. It
was completely worthless.
The only thing that we got was not a legitimate, but the best excuse he can give for recusing himself from the Russia investigation.
Yeah,
we got their best attempt at that.
I could only watch so much of it because I knew this is not going anywhere. I had watched the other 2 hearings that we're going to discuss a little bit, but this one it was like pointless after some point. It was like he's not going to say anything, and did you try to refresh your memory at all? It's like it's like how the hell?
Right. No, you know what? And I think that's why her questioning was so great, because even though we didn't get much out of it, we got 2 things. He looked like an ass trying to evade her questions when she was so super focusing him in one spot. And then the line, "It makes me nervous." You could see that look on her face. She was like, got him.
No, she got him on this point too, and she said, "Are those rules written down?" I don't know, maybe.
Right.
I don't know,
yeah.
maybe. And here's the thing. I'm glad he said something. I'm glad he at least opened himself a little bit to questioning, because I really thought after he read his opening statement where he went on a rant about, "I have been in this body for 30 years. I built a reputation as a senator and an attorney general for the state of Alabama." And the first thought was, yeah, you built one hell of a racist reputation. I mean, let's not forget the episode we did on Jeff Sessions talking about all of the voting rights that he stomped on for minorities when he was the attorney general for Alabama. But I thought when he was all done reading his opening statement, he was going to end it with the whole detestable lie and then go, "Mr. Chairman, I plead the fifth." That's what I thought was going to happen. I thought he was going to Chappelle the whole fucking thing and say nothing. I'm glad he did at least speak, I guess.
No, but he might as well. He basically did one step better, and he didn't look as bad as doing that. But if you don't recall any fucking details, it's the same thing.
Well, you have to look bad when you say, I don't know, maybe. Regarding the one fortified fence that you've put up for why you can't answer
and her
questions.
next thing, I think, was like, as the top lawyer of the country, you know, like, shouldn't you maybe know that, you know?
Yeah, I forgot about
Right.
that. That was good.
And you know what? I was thinking to myself, because she comes from a prosecuting background. I think I saw a statistic once that like 75% of everyone that's in the House and the Senate are all attorneys. You know, and that might have even been a higher number. But you think if you look at a lot of them, it's a lot of defense attorneys. So you know, all you have is people that are trying to
How to
figure out
lie.
ways to evade and confuse
That
and
makes
twist
sense.
shit up. And then it's refreshing to see the type of attorney that is focused on one thing and going after it.
Ted
You know,
Cruz versus fucking Kamala Harris, right?
wouldn't you love to see her in a debate with Trump?
Oh, no,
He wasn't afraid of Hillary, but you know, Kamala's got darker skin, and
Well-
that'll make him uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, and she's got no dirt.
Not that I know
They
of.
had
I
two-
know
well,
that
not-
they
yeah,
tried.
not that
They
I know
tried
of.
to dig when she ran for Senate, but I didn't hear of much.
yeah, she's pretty junior though. That's the thing. But I'm interested to see how she goes going forward. It's gonna be fun. But a couple other hearings that we'll touch on real quick. The Betsy DeVos one, and I'm pretty lucky. I work graveyard, so at like 7 o'clock when I'm wrapping up and kind of ending my day, I always get the notification. It's 10 o'clock in Washington, and they're doing the hearings live, so I get to kind of listen to them to wrap up my day. The Betsy DeVos one, it was interesting. There was some bipartisanship there. Both parties hate this budget as far as the education. It's slashing all kinds of programs that are useful. And some of them in rural states. Marco Rubio had some balls. I was impressed by Marco Rubio and Betsy DeVos's.
He didn't have any yesterday.
He definitely gave him away to Comey the next day. But for one day, I was impressed with him as he kind of grilled DeVos. So one Republican senator said that we should be able to pick our children's school like we pick a jar of mayonnaise. And luckily, I think it was a senator from Oregon said, like, with all due respect, Senator, the day that we pick our schools like the day, like a jar of mayonnaise, is the day we failed our children.
Well, yeah, I mean that's picking something that gives you runny shits. I mean that doesn't make any sense at all.
But I don't know if you guys saw any of it, but this was also very frustrating because she kept repeating. They were trying to find out if schools that get federal funding, charter schools, right, because that's her thing, if they have to follow LGBT discrimination laws. And she repeated the phrase, schools that receive federal funding must follow federal law 14 times. Just bam,
Yep.
bam. And what the guy was saying was, okay, some things the laws are shady on, or they're not, they're not strict enough. In those cases, are we still going to follow this anti-discrimination? Are you going to uphold it? And she just kept repeating that, and it was just like, in all my years of watching C-SPAN, I don't think I've almost as bad as Jeff Sessions, but it was just like, man, this lady does not belong there at all.
Can we?
Yeah, every person that Trump has put in has no business being there, and all they do is get, told by a lawyer before they go testify. Yeah, here's your key points, and yeah, don't answer anything.
I don't think we can do this enough, but can we just take a minute and imagine just the blowback if a fraction of this shit was done under Obama? His appointees, his attorney general. Can we just imagine the width?
But
Jesus.
that kind of pissed me off.
I feel like we saw it.
Should have been. No, that kind of pissed me off because now that you made me think about that, because
You're talking about the Eric Holder comment that was made on Jeff Sessions?
No, I'm thinking because he had the potential, right? He could have gone radical and not picked everybody from Wall Street into his cabinets. He could have done basically what Trump did on the other side and picked progressive people. I mean, and put them in, Robert Reich, for example, right? So I mean, there's people that he could have gone to, and I would have probably been much happier with the campaign. You still would have got the exact same thing from the right, but at least he would have stayed true to his word. So sorry, that kind of, as much as I love Obama and that my brain exercise kind of pissed me off because he should have done exactly what Trump's doing, just put people on the other end.
No, he should have. But what I'm saying is there are some appointment issues there. He did have some Wall Street people in his cabinet, but we didn't have a Secretary of Education that can't answer basic questions. I mean, we've never had a Betsy DeVos before.
Well, I can't speak to whether we've ever had a Betsy DeVos before, but something that I'm interested in and that I'm aware of, the Secretary of Energy under President Trump is Rick Perry.
Right. Who did not know what it was.
Right, and under Obama, it was a nuclear physicist.
Exactly.
That's pretty close. He's got glasses.
Yeah.
No, but I mean,
he's got glasses.
This was the one department that Rick Perry forgot that he wanted to eliminate in 2012 when he was running for the Oval Office. And then when he got the appointment from Donald Trump, he had to come out and say, well, now that I've looked into it, I think it's a great idea. I'm so excited. What the fuck?
That's what makes you think, like, oh, no, they got to be fucking with us. Like, the Illuminati's up there pulling the strings, and they're like, let's really fuck them with this one. Let's give it to Rick Perry.
But they they are, and I hate to sound all vast conspiracy about this, but damn it, I'm also a student of history. I love reading history, and I'm telling you, over and over again throughout history, the poor keep getting pushed further down, and then it ends very badly for the rich. And I think that maybe they're hoping that we're distracted enough with Facebook and Netflix and all of the lovely distractions that we have access to now that we just won't rebel. But eventually something's going to happen. You push people in the poor neighborhoods too far, that's going to blow up. You're going to have another Watts riot. You're going to have bigger things like that happening all over the place. And then if it gets really bad, really bad, you're talking French Revolution, you're talking October Revolution, you're talking stuff like that.
I'm so glad you brought that up because, I mean, with the agenda going on, right? When you look at education being completely trashed, you look at people thrown off healthcare, you looked at food stamps being, cut, all this stuff. That's why, in my opinion, he's not going to make it 8 years because it's not going to. They're making it happen.
These are his supporters. He's doing this to,
and it's happening fast. The Senate right now is discussing in back rooms how they're going to compromise on healthcare with the House, so they only throw $15 million instead of $23 million or something like that. They won't even make the hearings public. So I'm telling you, it's that exact situation. In my opinion, we're accelerating towards that at a fast pace because he's not stopping and saying, maybe I should, slow down a little bit. It's just like fucking full speed ahead.
Right. No, and we're about due. I remember that really big tome of a book that came out called Capital that was Thomas Piketty wrote around the time his book came out, because he details capitalism and the way it works and how over and over again in history, all the money gets pushed to the top, and then the poor kind of poke it with a stick, and it all comes gushing back down again. And this cycle happens just about every 100 years. French Revolution, American Revolution, toward the end of the 1700s, and then you've got major wars in the 1800s, and then going all the way up to World War II. You got the October Revolution, 1917. You got the rise of Hitler. A lot of people forget that. I mean, he was a dictator, he was a bad dude, but he went the social route of restoring Germany to what it was, and that's why it worked. I mean, look at what Hitler did with social policies. I'm not defending him in any way, shape, or form, but just look at where Germany was. They were a failed state, having a civil war.
In debt.
Right, and then in less than 20 years, they're a world power that basically starts the most deadly conflict on the planet. And the only reason they had that ability is because they got everything in order in their country and went full steam ahead.
So they had all the right tools. They just went in the wrong direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
I would have preferred to build up the country and then go, okay, yeah, we don't need to kill anyone. We're
right.
Fine. We're good.
Well, if they went and they stole a lot of wealth along the way, but
during the war, yeah.
Well, and before that too.
No, but the ideas that they've built, right, are still. I mean, German engineering right now is. I mean, it's top of the world, right? So
it has been since World War II.
Exactly, right? So those things, those processes and stuff that that was put in place then have been long lasting and stuff.
And one of the most popular medicines used. I mean, we got penicillin and ampicillin out of World War II as well, at a great cost. But I mean the tech. I mean, I remember watching a documentary about the steady kind of slow rise of the world's technological advances, and then World War II hit, and everything is spiked through the fucking roof, and it's continued to do so ever since. But anyway, enough about Hitler. Like, I totally understand. It's just, at what point, Nick, do you think? What do you think it's going to take? Because while we're seeing ourselves as a country heading towards the brick wall from fucking Hitler Light up there, what do you think is going to actually make the wall get hit? What do you think is going to cause that collision?
It's going to be when people look up from their cell phones. And I don't mean that in like a funny kind of old man shaking his fist way. I mean that when, they're getting rid of net neutrality, when internet access becomes exclusive and expensive, and you price the regular people out of it, which is the way that it'll eventually end up.
Selling information.
Right? Yeah. The NFL is already seeing revenue loss from the television and ticket sales because they've priced themselves out of the middle class already. When internet access goes, when healthcare goes, when education goes, and you get a lot of young people with nothing to do other than look at the problems of the world and figure out who to blame, and it's going to happen. Because you look at revolutions, it may be old men leading them, but it's not the old men fighting them. It's all the young people sitting around going, yeah, why don't we have that? And yeah, what happened to that? And I heard education used to be cheap or free. There's going to be a reckoning. So it's going to happen.
I'm going to second your point and be a little more optimistic and say that it kind of already is. I think that I keep bringing him up, but I mean, Bernie, he just went in on Big Pharma yesterday in Congress, and he's kind of still doing his thing, and I think watching Comey's testimony, I think they're coming for Trump. I don't think he's gonna last. I think the policies that they're putting in have done so much, are gonna do so much harm. You look at France, who they just elected You look at Canada. You know, you look at the whole world. We are starting to elect leftist politicians.
Yeah, we have some. I mean, Britain isn't a good example either. But
I don't know.
to
Why-
No,
why
Britain had, but
no, that was good. That was I know.
no, Britain had that turnaround because of what I was saying.
Okay.
They said that the problem with the Brexit came about because the young people didn't show up to vote.
Right.
And this time around, they were like, "Wait a minute, this is what happens when young people don't vote." So young people started showing
voting, and they lost their majority. So,
Right.
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and that's what I was going to say, Alex. You kind of piggyback on your point. I don't think, Nick, while I don't think you have a crazy idea that this is going to come to a revolutionary outcome, I believe if this continues, it will. But what I will say is I don't think it's past the point where voting can fix these issues. I feel like, and I've said this before, Donald Trump could be the best thing for America because through him, just like Kansas, you know, Kansas is a low population state. Yeah, they'll probably say something stupid like what you said. Well, we need to do it for the whole country. That's why it didn't work, whatever the case. In many ways, Trump is doing those types of things to the whole country. And I think he is swaying some voters away from the right into the middle. The crazy fucks, there's nothing you can do about them. They'll never reason with you. If Trump gets tried for treason, when proof comes out that he did collude with Russia, they still will not fucking believe it. It won't matter.
Yeah, but hang on. Number one, Trump's never getting tried for treason. Obstruction, maybe. Never. He's never going to get tried for treason. They're going to have actual recordings of him talking to a Russian.
No, but that's my
and going,
point.
"You get me elected, and I'll do your thing."
That's my point.
You know?
Even if they had that, those hardcore people still will not believe it.
Yeah, I understand, but that's a small segment. People will jump ship if he was getting tried for treason. That's a big one. And I'm not advocating for a violent revolution, and I'm not saying that I hope there is one. I'm saying that we're due historically. I do see what you're talking about, both of you guys, and I love how much you love Bernie, Alex. I really do. I think that there is kind of the Force Awakens with you know the liberal side of it is maybe waking up a little bit, but I'm not convinced either way that voting is necessarily going to change it. I don't think it's going to hurt, but the way that the system right now, the way that the Republicans have gerrymandered themselves into the House, and the way that lobbyists are so firmly look, a lobbyist got shot today at the congressional baseball game.
My first thought was, what?
Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, but I mean, the way that money is so firmly implanted in our electoral system and in our government, you know, one candidate like Bernie coming in, even if he became president, he could try to get stuff done. But if the Republicans are still in control of the House and Senate, it's going to be the Obama years again.
I mean, and it might not even be Bernie, right? But just imagine, right? But
no,
just
I know.
Kind of just like we mentioned with what Obama could have done. So imagine if you take a hypothetical, if Bernie would have won, if he would put the same pressure on the Democrats, because obviously if Bernie would have won, they would have won a majority of even the Senate, right? And lost the House, won the Senate. The pressure that Trump is putting on Republicans to, get Trump care, to push Trump's agenda. If you had a progressive pushing those ideas at the same pace, we could be talking about healthcare for all. We could be talking about education. So I think.
But remember, Obama did push single-payer healthcare right at the beginning with Obamacare. That's what he wanted. And then he went to the Democrats, and the Democrats said, well, we're going to lose money and support if we do single-payer because we get money from the insurance companies as well.
So
that's why they
But he didn't.
Well, yeah, that's not just him, though. And that's why we got that watered-down version of it.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. But Obama didn't publicly, and Bernie would have no problem getting up there as president and say, look, these are your congressmen. These guys are afraid to take it because they're getting money. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's basically what Trump's doing.
Yeah, but still,
because he'll call out the Republicans, no problem, right? He'll say, "Oh, the Republicans aren't working with me on Trump.
You will not be reelected." He said that a few times.
So, and I'm not saying it necessarily goes.
But what I'm saying though, like look at the gerrymandering in the House though. You are not going to get a Democrat elected in 90% of these gerrymandered districts because there's no one to vote for them. That's why the districts were drawn the way they were drawn. So those people are going to be in there.
I agree with you to an extent. Gerrymandering's horrible. I think it's amazing that in this country we don't have an independent group that decides the districts for the whole country, and it's like they let the states decide, and that's a mess, right? But even with that being the case, that's only a percentage of the seats available right now. When you look at the
right.
Seats that Republicans have, Democrats should be in most of those seats. We've just, like you said, Democrats have sucked as candidates because they're getting money from the same people that the Republicans are, but we're only getting half or 1/4 of the money. So it's like, how are we supposed to win? We're supposed to lose. They're feeding them more money because they want them to win and keep their ideas going, and they're giving us a little bit of money, saying like, just fight it a little bit, pretend you're all hardcore for the people, but remember who's paying you. So I don't know. I think 2018 will be a good indicator. I'm predicting, and obviously it's early, but I'm predicting that people are going to go out there and vote, and it's going to switch, change the landscape at least.
Well, we can all pray for it after the show. But,
well, and just real quick, because I'm looking at this website right now, Bill Moyers. I was just curious, and it looks like he's estimating that 60% of the seats that the Republicans have are gerrymandered. So 60% of them are safe.
Yeah,
it depends on how much Trump's administration is willing to push that party over country deal.
Right.
We'll see. And at the pace he's going, it hasn't even been 6 months yet. Who knows where those Republicans are going to be? They may say, fuck it, anybody's better than this. We need to put people in there that are actually going to block this president. Who knows? But with that, we're going to go ahead and conclude here. So thanks, everybody.
Oh, man.
Yes, sorry. Thanks, everybody, for listening to AOR. This was episode 68, where we are not for the faint of thought, with Mike, Nick, and Alex. Follow us on Twitter at AOR_podcast, Facebook on the Age of Reason podcast page, and for everything else, AORpodcast.com. We'll see you guys next week.